You made that up.
All right, focus. We gotta go.
Yeah, that's what it was. I think that might something along the lines. Somebody's like in a brain.
All right, we are talking about probability. Probability, the first thing to fill in there is outcome. Outcome is the possible result. An outcome is the possible result. And then an event is an outcome or a collection of outcomes. An event is an outcome or a collection of outcomes. And so probability you're somewhat familiar with because you do talk about this in junior high. Obviously, we'll get a little bit more involved. But here's the basic definition. So probability is a number from 0 to 1. So that part you're filling in, 0 to 1. That indicates the likelihood that an event will occur. And we can write it as a fraction, decimal, or percent. Most of the time we're going to write it as a fraction, but they may ask you to write it differently at times. So we're going to write it as a fraction, decimal, or percent. Usually we're going to write it as a fraction. And whenever we write things as fractions, what should we remember to do? Simplify, reduce. So always make sure you do that.
No, 12 minutes.
We can do it, I believe.
I'm tired.
Sorry.
I'm tired.
All right, theoretical probability. Often we just refer to this as probability. So say, hey, let's find the probability. We're finding the theoretical probability. Because that's when we assume that all the outcomes are equally likely. The theoretical probability that event A will occur is the number of outcomes in A divided by the total number of outcomes. Or we could just say the success divided by the total. Or the success, probably we should technically say the success, the success of A.
Oh,
I
do you need the Heimlich?
I just have a tickle in my throat.
Hey, I got a cat. You know that?
I thought you already had a cat.
10 minutes.
I brought a new one home because I wanted it.
Like you just
Great.
I didn't tell my parents. No. This
Bro.
is the third time you messaged them.
All right, so we didn't take it this far last week when you were flipping coins and rolling dice. But when you were doing that, were you getting everything an equal amount of times? No, because when you actually do something, it doesn't really turn out what we expect in theory. But when we figure out probability, we pretend like that's what's going to happen. So theoretical probability is what we expect, but we know in real life it doesn't often happen. So if you flip it over, because we probably won't get there, there is an experimental probability. That's the observed probability. And that's just what happens in an experiment. So we don't talk about that very much. We usually are talking about theoretical. Okay, moving on. Now on to the examples. So probability is when you roll a 6-sided die. Often it will say a fair 6-sided die. That just means it's not weighted. It's what you expect. It's what you normally see. What's the probability you're going to roll a 5?
1 out of 6.
Easy, right? So you just put 1 out of 6. That's it. That you roll an even. How'd you get 1/2? So it's 3/6. I do want to see that. And it's 3/6 because it's 2, 4, or 6 are your evens. I don't need to see that, but I do want to see 3/6 and then 1/2.
Do we need to write it in the other form or?
You do need to write 1/2, but you don't need to write a decimal. You don't need to write a percent unless the directions tell you otherwise. So those are easy. This one gets a little bit harder. A community center hosts a talent contest for local musicians. On a given evening, 7 musicians are scheduled to perform. The order in which the musicians perform is randomly selected. What is the probability that the musicians perform in alphabetical order?
What?
So wouldn't that be
Go ahead.
one the C, like choose? Or this is different, right? Or are we still
Wouldn't
doing
it be
that?
1 out of 7? Because
So
there's only one way they can be.
There's only one way they can do it right, correct? So I agree. There's only one way to be successful.
Oh.
But we are still using all our counting ways. I agree with Layla there.
So
But I don't think it's combination.
Hey. Order matters.
Order matters.
Blank.
Could do the blank.
7 choose.
Fraction.
Choose means combination. Order matters.
Exclamation point.
Exclamation point, because are we going from 7 all the way down to 1?
Yes.
Yeah. I could also use permutation and do 7, pick how many? 7, which is the same as doing a permutation or a factorial. So I could do 7 permutation 7 or 7 factorial. Or someone said the blank, I could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could do 7 blanks if I wanted and do 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, 5,040.
What? That is so crazy.
And so that obviously doesn't reduce. So 1 out of 5,040. Okay, you are friends with 4 of the musicians. What is the probability that the first 2 performers will both be your friends?
This is too tricky for
So
my brain.
2.
No, 4.
You're friends with 4. What is the probability that the first 2 will both be your friends?
So 4 on top. Then on the bottom, 4 pick 2.
So you're friends with 4. There's a probability that the first 2 will both be your friend.
Okay, so it's something with like
0.
2 out of 7, right? Like something with a 2 and a 7. Or 4 out of 7? Or no. 7
It's too tricky.
P4. Is it multiple steps?
Can you give us a hint?
You gotta just think it through here. So
Oh, we have
think
to
about
the
your-
opposite. That won't
you
be
gotta
our
think
friend.
about your total and you gotta think about your success.
Oh.
What is the
Okay.
probability that the first 2 will both be your friends?
2 out of 7.
No,
Why 2 out of 7?
Because there's 7 people and 2 of them could be your friends.
Wait, but wouldn't it be 4 because you have 4 friends? So it's
Yeah, but you only need
then there's-
2 of them to be your
Oh.
friend.
Stab my foot with my pencil.
I agree with 2 out of 7.
Is that it?
So yeah. So you need 2 out of 7
Oh.
to be your friends.
Oh my goodness. I feel dumb now. Because it. So that 4
Wait,
is
this
just
isn't the
irrelevant.
answer.
This is our answer.
What?
Yeah, that's
So-
what
She's
she's
trying to throw you off.
I am not.
Yes, you
Because
are.
it's easy when you look at it now.
Because it's. What are the problems?
So
2 out of 7.
no,
Yeah.
we did it a much harder way in the other class. The other way we did it is how many performers do you know that are your friends?
4.
How many are you going to choose?
2.
So we did 4, choose 2. How many performers are there?
7.
How many are you going to choose?
4.
You're 2. So we did it that way and we got 6 out of 21 and we reduced down to that. I think just thinking it through doing 2 out of 7 was easier. So you have to have 2 to be the first 2 out of the 7. I thought that was easier to think through. So that was fine. Okay. Are we okay with that?
No.
Yeah, it's just,
I mean, I get. Yeah. When you look at it now.
but still, it's
But if
hard
I
for your
were
brain.
doing it.
We'll come back if we have time. Why not? If we have time, we'll come back and we'll try and do maybe a card one that's involves some counting methods. Let's do these 2 real quick, and we'll also have to do odds. We'll probably have to get more of this tomorrow when we look at the homework. So you are equally likely to choose an integer from 1 to 20. Find the probability of picking a perfect square.
4 out of 20.
So what are your perfect squares?
1, 4, 9, 16.
Good job.
So I would agree, 4 out of 20,
1/5.
which reduces to 1/5. Factor of 30, well, 1, 2, 3, what else?
5, 6, 7.
So they did this last class too. 30, do I want to include 30?
No.
No, and I'm probably going to get you because it goes 1 through 20, so don't include 30. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 out of 20. All right, let's get odds knocked out here. So the odds, it measures the chance in favor of an event occurring or the chances against an event occurring. Odds in favor is going to be the number of success over the number of failures. So that's different. It's not the number of success over total, it's success to failures. The odds against are the number of failures over the number of success.
I don't like, why would it be a failure or a success? What would make it that?
Whether you're meeting the criteria or not. So if I say, hey, you're gonna flip, or let's not do that. If you're gonna roll a coin and you want to get a 5, so it's a success if you get a 5. It's a failure if you get anything else. So that's roll a die. Sorry, I changed what I wanted to do midway through my thought process.
I know, I was like,
Sorry. Ouch. All right, so you're gonna draw a card from a standard deck. How many cards in a standard deck? 52. I can do it. So in favor of drawing a 10. So how many cards are 10s?
4.
How many cards are not 10?
48.
48. Now, if it was probability, I'd do 4 out of 52, but since it's odds, I do 4 out of 50. Sorry, 4 out of
148.
Thanks. And then I reduce, so 1 out of 12. Against a club. So I start off and I do not a club. So how many are not a club?
39.
How many are clubs?
13.
So this is a little weird. It's 3 over 1. Usually we're saying, oh, it's 3. But since it's odds, you have to leave it as 3 over 1 to represent the odds. So you leave it just like that. All right. Perfect time. We still do need the assignment written down. You do not need to turn this in, but just like before, I would strongly encourage you to do this because you do have that test coming up on Friday. Once you have that, you may go.